pact once broken, forged anew. Warlocks Waffles.
Did you want waffles?
Is it like the
MP3s,
Karma Sutra?
but you're an MP10.
We are live. We are live, y'all.
Oh. Oh, I thought it was the music was gonna play. Son of this isn't even a gag. I thought you were gonna play the music. I thought that there was a callback before the music, and it was gonna be silly. Oh, damn it! I didn't know.
I gave you so much more time than I normally do.
I thought you were like, all right, you guys, ready?
Y'all ready to go? Okay, cool. And then we were in it, and I was like, shut up. And then we went live, and you guys didn't shut up.
You did not say shut up.
I did. I said it twice.
I didn't hear you say shut up.
That's because you all were talking so loud about your nonsense.
I had to get in my
dare
good
you.
MP3 pickup line.
It was good. It was good.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Okay.
Now I look like I'm the drama.
This is the intro now. Everybody has to give their best MP3 related pickup line right now.
I've already given mine.
Yeah, but
I'm into MP3s, but you're an MP10.
Which sounds like a weapon. Junie,
Yeah.
what's your best MP3 related pickup line?
I'm not vamping. I can't think of anything other than like, hey girl, do you have 10,000 downloads on SoundCloud? Because you're hot as fuck. I don't know where else to go with this.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Oh, this is gonna be a good start.
Junie, I would be interested in talking more. So there you go.
What's SoundCloud?
What about hey girl, are
That's
you in,
what.
all right, hey girl, are you in wave format? Cause I'm trying to ride that.
This is about MP3s though.
Hey,
No,
Hey,
wrong format.
Yours was about Spotify.
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud.
Yeah,
Still,
MP3s can be on SoundCloud. They
Yeah.
were elevated.
Uh-huh.
It was
So,
like an angel.
I can
ascended
convert
to
a
the
wave
heavens.
file into an MP3.
I don't want to change somebody.
I just
I
think
want
I
them
can
as they
fix
are.
them, Judy.
Oh, this is getting worse.
hey
Welcome
girl,
to
is
the
your
show.
name Napster? Because I want to feel bad about myself tomorrow, but not that much.
Oh, no, this is getting more problematic as we go. This is getting, and now it's my turn, and I will take it to the next step. But I'm gonna throw
Cut
the
it
ball to
off.
Hunter.
Cut
I'm
it
gonna give the
off.
ball to Hunter, so that
Oh
way
no,
I
we're
don't
doing
do
another
it.
one. Why are we
Judy
doing?
is slapping the ball away from
No,
himself.
I'm giving it to you so you can like put us like get the game started
Okay, I'm-
properly instead of me like
Yes.
trying to slam
Hunt-
dunk it a
Right.
home
Hunter
run.
is the equipment manager for this team, and he's
Right.
putting all the stuff away.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, my camera's moving again. Uh-oh.
Right.
It can't lose me. It lost me. That's you.
Okay. We need to
going
start this show.
What do we?
So I will
Fantasia
just-
Barrino fan. Cast.
So I will just say before we start, hey girl, are you live wire? Because I'm trying to catch a virus.
Livewire?
Isn't it?
Isn't Livewire a DC villain? Like, what are you? Is Livewire a thing?
My wife just walked in and went,
Ugh.
don't ask me. I didn't start this bit. But I will finish it. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. We're a TTRPG morning show. I don't feel like I need to do one of our nonsense little intro things because we just did whatever that was.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. We have a guest. Elliot,
Who?
introduce yourself.
We do?
Yeah, it's you. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Hi. Hello.
We logged on and Elliot was just sitting here and he was like, I am guest today. And we were like, okay, do you have something to talk about? And he was like, yes, a topic. And we were like, okay, what is it? And he was
How
like,
did you get in here?
surprise!
How did you get in here? Who left
I
the
know a
window
guy.
open?
It was our kobold intern. He's always screwing things up.
Hello. I'm Elliot Holder. And
That's
I'm
enough.
writing an RPG.
I genuinely thought I had lost your feed. You were so completely motionless. I was like,
yeah, no,
oh,
I assumed that was the bit.
middle of it. Oh no.
I often do statue work out on the street corner.
Hello, I'm Elliot Holder, professional statue.
I put one of those little whizzy blow things for parties in my mouth and I go
a kazoo?
No, they're different than a kazoo. They actually have a spinner and they go
Wow.
I knew what he was. Yeah, but
Okay.
Thank you,
when you
Junie.
said that, I was like,
Thank
shit,
you.
do I not know what a kazoo is?
Oh,
Hunter gets a special headache when it's
we're
me and
off.
Elliot at
We're
the
off
same
to such
time.
Yeah.
a. We're off
Hunter,
to such
you
a
invited
weird
me
start.
here. You should have known what you were getting yourself into.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
already-
This
yeah.
is my
This
fault.
has happened so many times.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Elliot, and I'm writing an RPG called The True History of Oz. Loosely based on the Blades in the Dark system. So if you're familiar with that system, a lot of the core rules are the same, but we're making a lot of adjustments based on the world.
It's very exciting.
Coming out very soon to Kickstarter. And we're really getting pumped. We've got some test materials going. So and I'll put the link for the backer kit in the Warlocks and Waffles Discord. So if you're not in the Discord for Warlocks and Waffles,
Go join
go
the
join
Discord.
up. It's very cool, fun community. I'm there.
That's the vibe.
There's such a weird
Just a
energy.
lot of people
this
whisper.
morning.
Yeah, just a lot of whispering.
Oh, man.
It's just a lot of I'm gonna
Okay.
read everything
Yeah.
differently now.
It's weird. The Warlocks and Waffles Discord is just ASMR stuff. It has nothing to do with tabletop RPGs or the Twitch channel or anything. It's
Yeah.
just weird ASMR stuff. I told them it was a weird direction to go, and they're like, "No, we're doing it this way."
It's it's
I'm so
it's one of
I'm
those things
so-
you do it because you love it.
I'm so fully thrown off.
I'm very happy. That's why I'm basking in this. So I'm just like, oh, I want to say something, but this is real funny. Because you
Oh,
drank from
man.
the bottle, and I was like, Hunter, don't give it to them for free. Because I could hear you drinking, and I was just like, oh, save that chugging for the Discord. So Elliot,
Yes, Junie.
oh man.
what started you on this journey?
Yeah, let's start there.
What made you go, I want to make a TTRPG about a prison? There was a show named Oz, right? I'm not crazy, right? There was.
Yes,
I'm not
different
crazy. Good.
Oz. This
Different
is
Oz,
this
yes.
is the Emerald City. So this was
So
actually
this whole thing is
it's
based on that James Franco movie, right?
yes,
Y'all
exactly
y'all
that.
remember
James
when James
Franco
Franco
came to
did a
me.
Wizard of Oz movie?
Uh-huh. He came to me and he was like, "Hey, you remember that movie I did years ago?
Yeah.
Uh, I need a TTRPG for this."
Hey, actually, I
And that's
immediately
really
regret talking about James Franco. I hate that guy so much. Let's
yeah.
move on.
And I was and
I
I
was
and I
about to
said,
bring up a
"Hey,
few things, and I was like, I don't want to do any of these bits.
get
Yeah,
out of
no,
here,
there's
Jimmy."
Hunter, stop it.
it's comedy poison. Let's move on.
Hunter's poisoning this premium piece of content that we're doing right here.
I don't know, it worked for Mabim Bam. Anyway, so no, this is actually an IP that a now good friend of mine, Matt Schulte, came up with, and he wanted to create something that people could kind of immerse themselves in the world. And so, I chatted with him a little bit about tabletop games versus like board games and things like that, and how there are versions of both that kind of do this thing, kind of let people explore the world, but how tabletop games, like RPGs, are a little bit more immersive. You get
Mm,
into it more,
Mhm.
and he was very interested. He had never played an RPG or really like looked it up. He had heard of Dungeons and Dragons, and that was about it. And so after a couple of calls, he was like, "Okay, look, how about you design a game for me and we'll work together to sort of integrate the world into it and everything." And so that was a while back. We've been, working on how we want to write it, how we want to message it and structure it. And one of the things that really caught me about his world is that it's a sort of fantastical fantasy world with 8 foot tall flying monkeys that want to like rip people in half, with the wizard who can conjure massive spells and things, um but it still is very grounded in sort of the day to day. The regular folks in this world are not, there aren't adventurers like in D&D where they go save towns and eventually become demigods. um Most people don't amount to much of anything, and that the that sort of dark and gritty world of people just trying to survive day to day fit really well with the Forged in the Dark SRD system,
yeah.
which is a really great like narratively driven system that at its bones is a lot simpler than games like Pathfinder or D&D that have kind of a level of crunchiness to it that's not too difficult, but it's still more complicated. There's more elements and pieces and moving parts to all the different classes, and this really is narrative first, mechanics second. And so all the roles, you don't add a bunch of numbers to it. It's just if you have a skill, you see what your level is in that skill, and that's how many d6s you roll. If it's a 1 to 3, you fail. If it's a 4 or 5, it's a mixed success. If it's a 6, success. And that's it. That's really the base of the game. Um, you don't need the other bells and whistles that are kind of additional to it, but there are like abilities that give some narrative feel to it. Where, well, Hunter is playing in my test game that we've been working with, and he's got one that is it mesmerism,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where if you interact with somebody, like for a moment,
Yeah.
they don't
If I
remember your face.
if I try and like sway them,
That's
they
right.
like I can make it so that they don't remember like the
Hmm.
specifics of that interaction. Which I think I've only used like once or twice. Because every other time I'm like, no, I want them to know my face. But there's it's cool to be able to kind of disconnect yourself from the memory, to be like they remember kind of the interaction but they don't remember
Right.
me being a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's very
um
cool.
yeah, I like
Um,
it a lot. I've been having a lot of fun with that game because it's just utter nonsense. And
It is.
I've ran games for you, Elliot, for years now. And those games are always just so much nonsense, and you've had some very like silly characters over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been very fun for me to be on the other side of that and be like, okay,
Piggyback.
now it's my turn. I'm gonna make a
I'm gonna
nonsense
lick all the
character.
doorknobs.
Yeah.
Now it's time for Chazmataz. Chaz
Yep.
spelled with a Z, but it's not where you think.
There's too many Z's, and
There's
one of them is not where you think it would be.
I've started to like putting silent punctuation marks. I want to have a character named like Kahad, and it's gonna be C, but it has a K sound, an apostrophe, like two weirdly shaped A's, and a very big pretentious D, and a question mark that's silent. And when somebody looks at it, it's like, is that just say Chad? And I was like, some might pronounce it that way, but it's Kahad. It's just gonna be Chad with a question mark.
okay.
I had a character in one of my games that was just like, it was just a question mark was their name. And when the players started interacting with them, they were like, okay, what is your name? And they said, oh, my name is Mark. And they're like, oh, do you not know? And he's like, no, I know what my name is. It's Mark. And they're like, why are you saying it like that? He's like, that's how it's pronounced. And they're like, can you write it? And he just wrote a question mark. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's pronounced Mark.
That's good.
That's
Good.
very good.
That's really good.
Junie, Cod definitely needs to be Mermaid Strahd.
That's funny. That's
That's
good.
very good.
I like that.
Although according to the official Forgotten Realms lore, if a vampire was submerged in running water, it would for too long it would destroy them. So a mermaid
Okay.
vampire is a terrifying
But the ocean is just a
proposition.
giant body that's undulating. It's not running.
Yes. See,
A
that's the
river is
point
one
I
thing,
was
an
going to make.
ocean is
But
like-
there's you would still be like a current. Like you get stuck in a current and you're like it's just a terrifying
you're thinking of a terrestrial vampire. An aquatic vampire can't be on lava. That's moving earth.
A heavy wind. Heavy wind would disintegrate an
Yeah,
aquatic
you need to think of like,
vampire.
all right, the earth is element, and then water kills it. So if they're in the water, then earth or air is going to be the moving air current or moving land current would be the thing to like kill. So they can't cross tectonic
movements
plates
of tectonic plates.
Yeah,
they're just
they
like,
can't cross a fault line. If it's a fault line, they're
for
like, shit, that's the barrier
millennia.
of my domain.
Yeah.
So are the characters in your
like
game
if you put
inhabitants of Oz?
No. I'm sorry. We will move on. I feel like we will. I feel like if you put a terrestrial vampire and submerge them in lava, it would also destroy them.
Maybe. Have you done it?
So Elliot,
I feel like they would turn into smoke and fly away. Anyway,
they turn into smoke.
Definitely turn into smoke.
Turn into a
one
bunch
way
of
or
bats
another.
Are the player characters in your game inhabitants of Oz, or are they people that have been like tornado sucked into the like how much is based off of how much is pulled? Is it completely?
So the backstory for this world is that that essentially these books were written by one of the inhabitants as both a recording of history, but also like premonitions. And then Frank Baum, who wrote the original Wizard of Oz, the idea is he found this book. It ended up in our world. He read through it and was like, I'm going to make a like happier sort of fantasy friendly for kids version of this. And that's why this is the true history of Oz versus his version. In this world, it is kind of like a, massive desert. I think in like the prehistory, it wasn't that way, but current times there is a huge oasis space that is the Emerald City and the greater area of Oz. And in the desert, there are like that's where the flying monkey sort of clans rove the desert and tear people apart. There are creatures called the grinders that are almost minotaur like and kind of, scavenge and
Do you
fight
have
with the
wheelers like
monkeys.
from Return to Oz? Those
Oh
are nightmare
no,
creatures.
that was something that
God,
I was like, "Ooh, is that an element?" And the grinders are almost like a medieval wheelers. Think of it
that's
that way.
cool and
Um,
terrifying.
yes. But in Oz itself, there is the forest, which like the central part of it is this very dark, haunted land of cursed spirits and things. And then there are the poppy fields that the munchkins sort of toil in, collecting poppies to make drugs in the actual city and in the sort of surrounding tent city called Carneytown, where a lot of the criminal underworld is. And if the wizard rules with an iron fist in the Emerald City, the gritty criminal underworld is where the Tin Man runs the town, which that's actually the sort of subtitle for this book. We have plans on making sort of enhancements for the book because there are different time periods where this world and its culture kind of changes. And so there'll be like supplements that'll add a couple of character options, some new, random tables, things like that, and some setting specific things for as the world sort of changes over time. And so think of this as like pre Dorothy. This is the world setting up
Mm.
towards that point, where in the
Oh,
future somebody will be brought to Oz. Spoiler. Um, to shake things up.
Spoiler for Wizard of Oz. Can you imagine if you're sitting at home right now listening to this and you're
well,
like, Wizard of Oz, yes, it's on my to-do list. I've just never gotten around to
well,
watching it. Sure hope they don't spoil any major plot points.
Hunter, how
have
many
you
of your viewers sound like that?
So many. I was
more than
just
you would
looking at
think?
our algorithms the other day, and it's like, where are they from? What's your what like your major viewing audience and stuff? And it's like
One just
guys who
says that
sound like
guy.
this,
Yeah,
and then it's just an audio clip, and it's like, oh, and yeah, apparently
it's not zero.
98% of our viewing audience. Yeah,
Wealthy
Hunter, have
East
you
Coast
read any of the
yachting
books?
wasps?
any of what books? Just books in general?
The
No.
Wizard of Oz books.
Uh,
The Wizard of Oz
I
books.
I'm sure I read like some version of it when I was younger. I haven't read them
I,
since I've been
I
like
was
conscious.
stunned. I was stunned to find out that there were so many because I think there's
Oh
There's
yeah.
a
11 or
lot.
13,
Yeah.
11 or 13
Yeah,
books. And then
there's
there's
a
the
lot.
Wizard of Oz, like it'll be like the one that like will be like a
It's the one that
standalone.
everybody knows about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's kind of
but to know,
like the Chronicles of Narnia. Like
Hmm.
everybody
mhm.
knows about the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but like you start talking
Which
about
is the
the Silver Chair or the
Lion the
Magician's
Witch and the Wardrobe is
Nephew,
like the
and
second or third book too, because like
So,
uh,
my
well,
my former boss would get so mad because like they changed the order to make it whatever. So it depending
so
on
no,
which
what
book you have, this has one on it or this has one on it. So
what
like
happened
shelving them in the
was
library was nuts.
Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe was written first,
yeah,
but
Hmm.
then he wrote a prequel to
yeah.
it
Yeah,
that a
And then
lot
he
of
wrote
people think is the
sequels,
first book.
and then he wrote
yeah.
ones that exist out of order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
But
don't
they
get me
published them
into
and then
Narnia
numbered
lore.
them different. So there's more than one numbering convention.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the publishers did kind of screw it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Um,
thing. That's the thing where
the
it's like depending
the
on which one you get.
the one with Bree, Winnie, the horse and his boy.
Yeah, I love Horse and
That
His
one
Boy.
actually occurs
This is a family show. We
during
don't talk about that
the
stuff. So
Yeah.
look,
end.
uh
We're talking about Wizard of Oz.
We're talking about Wizard of Oz. Wrong.
Stop trying to distract us and make us talk about Narnia, Elliot. We're here to talk about Oz.
Oh my God, what was the one thing? There was one thing from Wizard of Oz that my former boss was just like, yeah, some of these books are weird though. There was that. There was one thing about Dorothy and the Queen making out in a garden or something, and I'm like, what? And it was like she would Dorothy could go back home whenever she wanted, apparently. Like, so apparently it goes between her going back to Oz and then going home, and her family loses her farm and is living like impoverished in the city, and she has to like whisk them back, and it cuts between that and then scenes of like the Queen, who is also a child, and Dorothy, like just it says exchanging kisses in the gardens for fun. Like it doesn't, it's weird. It's just yeah, sometimes friends just do that. We're friends. And I'm like, what is this book?
And
What
they
is
were
the children? What's
roommates.
happening here?
Yeah.
So how much is that? How much of that is in your game? How many kisses can
Well,
I
and
expect to exchange
I will
with my
say
friends?
As
at the
with
table?
any good TTRPG,
Yeah, how many kisses
as
can
much as you want.
We're friends. Oh
Uh,
yes.
I will say the lore
I hate
of
everything that I just did.
and so did everyone else.
Save it for the Discord, Junie.
The lore of like Oz is like there's a lot of it out there. There have been movies, there's musicals, there's movie about musicals, like there's all that stuff, and this is kind of its own thing in that lore, and there are things that are different than the lore that everybody like would say they know about Oz. And I was introduced to the fact that that is the case very early on in talking to you about this, because I believe the first thing I said when we started talking about it and you were like, do you want to play? I was like, yeah, I would love to try it out. I was like, can I play a Tin Man? And you were like, no, in fact, you really don't want to be a Tin Man. And I was like, can I play a character who does want to be a Tin Man? And you were like, you don't want to be a Tin Man.
That person would have to be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So like,
arguably all of us are playing psychopaths.
I mean,
I
what
wanna be a Tin Man
TTRPG
so
group
bad
has
now
not
because you
played all
told me.
psychopaths?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tin Men in this world are more out of necessity and survival than anything. So there is a huge logging business because, to get into a little bit of the lore, there is a like the old Oz that for reasons unknown has been abandoned in a far off land. And one of the things that the wizard is doing in this oasis, because of this massive sprawling forest, it has this huge lumber industry, where this entire community of people living on the edge of the forest are working to do logging essentially. And it's incredibly dangerous. They don't have heavy equipment, it's just axes and big saws. Technologically, this world is a fantasy setting, like a medieval sort of style thing. There's magic that makes small adjustments to that, but for the most part, it's very analog.
Are
And
there
so
guns?
there are no guns. No
Okay.
guns, no gunpowder, no
So
explosives.
sometime
Although,
between where we're at in the timeline and when Dorothy shows up, guns are created.
now, walk me through that, Hunter.
The Scarecrow has a gun. In the actual movie, the Scarecrow, I will send you a picture. The Scarecrow has a gun in The Wizard of Oz. This is not me making something up.
I am racking my brain for a
Yeah, same
memory
here.
of
Nah, we're
the
all
Scarecrow
furiously
like pulling out his iron and being like, "Shut up, witch!"
I
it looks
typed
like
in
he's
I
got a
typed in
gun.
Wizard of Oz Scarecrow, and the first result is Wizard of Oz Scarecrow gun. Yeah, I will send you a picture, Elliot.
Oh my gosh.
Save image and go to Discord, and Elliot, and upload a file, and
Yeah,
select
it
this
looks
one,
like he had a
open,
gun.
send. There you go. Look at Scarecrow and his gun.
But that's not a gun, right? That's essentially like one of those like
it's a
rubber band
weird
pea
magic
shooters.
wand.
Like when you pull the trigger, it pulls back like a rubber band, and it's
Yeah,
essentially like a glorified version of when you take like a piece of paper and then fold it like this and launch it. It's just like a
Now,
magical or just slightly mechanical version of that.
this is going to be a deep cut, and only for those who live in sort of the Midwest slash South Ozarks area. But that is the exact gun that they have on the mine shootout ride at Silver Dollar City, where you like go through a sunken prison mine and you had to shoot at targets and stuff. That is that gun. It is exactly that. I don't know if the Wizard of Oz got it from Silver Dollar City or vice versa, but
it's
it
so
is the same
funny.
gun.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I don't. I had when you were saying like it's fantasy, like there's not any like technology. My brain immediately was like, but the Scarecrow has a gun, so like,
okay,
is
but
that
that's the
is that
movie
canon lore?
based on Baum's version. I can only guess that in the true history of Oz, it's going to be a big ass crossbow,
Love that.
which almost seems cooler than like his tiny little rubber, um, probably like a gimmicky bar of soap that you get at Spencer's gun. Um,
Oh my.
Is
Okay,
there
we
are there a lot of unexplained elements in the world?
we will move on from the Scarecrow having a gun. I do. I've found apparently Tom and Jerry did a Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz. And in Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz, they still gave Scarecrow a gun.
like like the whole movie, he could have solved so many problems.
I know, right? That's what's always
Yeah.
blown my mind is like he only pulls it out, as far as I remember, he only pulls it out when they're in the like spooky forest area and he's like has the gun out. But it's like you've had a
So
gun
anyway,
this whole
Tin
time?
Men,
Yeah,
Tin
Tin
I
Men
Men.
was,
in
I
the
was,
true
about-
history of
yeah.
Oz.
Mhm.
uh, the logging industry is so dangerous and so hazardous that a lot of people are like crushed and have limbs cut off and like just horrific amount of injury and potential death.
Mhm.
But there is one person who is called the Tinkerer, who is the only person who's figured out how to magically um, adhere these sort of automaton parts to people. Even the wizard himself hasn't figured out this method.
Yeah.
And the Tinkerer is a little off his rocker, so he's not like gonna share around
Mhm.
this stuff. And so these people who are injured kind of have these modifications made, but society has kind of shunned them. They become almost mechanical, like in personality as this happens,
Mhm.
and become a danger to the people around them as well because they sort of
Becoming
stop
more
having
machine.
yeah, it's and it's a little bit, it's kind of part of the trauma of this happening. It's kind of part of being shunned in the first place. But the Tin Men live deeper in the forest, just doing the work that they've done continuously, and people just give them a wide berth. So I will say it is an element that we're going to add in our stretch goals to add in late game enhancements. Because if you've
Nice.
played Blades in the Dark,
Yeah.
there are similar things of becoming a ghost or a vampire or what's called a hole, which is like a spirit in a robot body, that are meant to be like late game things that could
Mhm.
happen to your characters. Or if you're making like a high level campaign, um, you can start with those kind of characters. And so we are going to have stretch goals to have rules for like what happens to characters if they become Tin Men. And that's it's it's scary fun. It's gonna be
That's
very intense
that's
and dark,
awesome.
and
I
it's
like that a lot.
great.
Are there
It's
are
much
there
better than what I thought because I thought it was a weird kink thing where it's like, oh, it hurts, but some people are into it, and those people are tin daddies, um, and they're just in constant pain, but they really, really like it. And I was just like,
oh man.
what? You can have that one for free.
All right.
So
Yeah, that's going to be our top stretch goal.
yeah,
Highest
Tin
tier
daddies.
stretch goal,
top stretch
but
goal. We bring in
only
More of like a
Judy.
only
BD.
for
It's more like a BDSM like tin suit. Like
but only for Junie.
Yeah,
He's the only one that gets access to that
they're
if we hit
gonna
that stretch goal.
they're gonna
everybody's gonna pay for me to get that.
yeah.
Yes.
The top stretch goal is we will write this and send it to only Junie.
We're gonna make a new ad with the Sarah McLachlan like adopt a pet song
I
over it.
will remember you.
Oh, and just have images of a sad Junie.
Yeah,
And be like,
There's so many.
please
just
back the
in black
Kickstarter
and white
today.
with like rain droplets falling. Are there scarecrows? I don't think I've ever asked.
There aren't. That
Okay.
again is like a later in the story thing.
Yeah.
And again, this is, even though it has these like big fantastical
Mhm.
things, a lot of this world is a lot more grounded.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, there are these sort of automatons
Mm-hmm.
that lowercase t, like tinkerers, people who fiddle with these things, um, can imbue with the tiniest amount of like magical power
Mm-hmm.
to make them autonomous
Right.
slightly. They're not like, they're still kind of dumb.
More like a golem.
Um, yeah, exactly. And so there's this group that is maybe my favorite sort of organization, called the Clockwork Conspirators, that
Mm-hmm.
like that's their whole jive, is that
Yeah.
they are the best at this. And one of the things is that they're always striving to be able to do what the tinkerer can and like
Mm-hmm.
modify people. And so they're always mangling and creating these horrible, like
Hmm.
grotesque monsters out of people that they experiment on, and it does not go well. Um and
Love
they're a
that.
ton of fun. I love bringing them into like the couple of test games that I've run. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, these people are crazy. Um, but
Well, there's
but that's the other thing, is that there's a lot of these organizations,
I
like
was
these
just about
different
to say,
groups.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
there's
like groups and organizations and like families and teams and yeah.
yeah, there are, organized crime is a big theme in the true history of Oz.
Yeah.
And there's an awesome place in Carneytown called Club Trauma, that is run by
Yo,
Falsetto.
what?
Yes, Club Trauma,
Yo,
Yeah.
oh my
run by a
god.
guy named Falsetto, and his couple of henchmen, Shiv and Brill. And like their whole thing is that they're basically like lounge singers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this guy is all about, the pinstripe suit and looking really sharp and dapper and
Yep.
everything, and has this penchant of like singing while he's killing people, and trying to make them sing, as like, maybe if I sing with him, he won't kill me. It is dark and messed up
Yeah.
and so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
but
I don't know how much you want to talk about our game on here, Elliot, and how much of it you want to keep secret. But we went to Club Trauma. We met Falsetto.
oh yeah.
I assume our game isn't canon.
Well, so it is. So there are spoilers there.
Okay.
Because I took from some of the story that Matt has written and kind of wove it into the game,
Awesome.
which will have some elements of that in the actual book, so that you can kind of know the narrative timeline,
Cool.
and either use it or make your own thing based on the world. But yeah, Club Trauma is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's the Broken Dolls, that are these people who basically were cursed, and so they kind of look like these you know the little wooden figures that people will use to do figure drawing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they essentially look somewhere between that and like porcelain dolls.
Oh!
With
Oh! Oh!
Junie had a volatile
Oh,
reaction to that one.
boy! Oh! Oh, man! That is
Oh,
oh!
and they're
yeah.
creepy. I don't like
Oh!
Yes.
one of the people in our
That's
game is like connected to them somehow. We haven't touched
Uh-huh.
on why. But like they're connected to them somehow and they keep going to them for like information, and when they've been hurt they go there to get like stitched up and stuff. And every
Really
time
good
I'm
with
like,
thread work.
this is uncomfy. I don't
They
yeah.
so their whole thing
They
is that they
move like
run
weird
a
broken marionettes.
yes.
I
And like
already
they can
visualized
bend
it,
their
yeah.
limbs backwards and like rotate their heads, and
Yeah.
they
You
run
add a
this
porcelain doll
macabre
head to anything and it's a
circus.
nightmare.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's like a blank um like porcelain mask, but there's just dark void behind the eyes. And it doesn't move or anything. You just hear this disembodied voice anytime they speak.
It's creepy.
And
They're so
like the
creepy.
circus that they do is it's just dark with them skittering around and doing like these acrobatic things, but also like crawling behind you. And if you've ever done I think it's like the Stitch encounter now at Disney World, but it used to be this thing like Alien Encounter, and it was the scariest thing, and they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
I
That's
remember
basically
I
what the
did that.
broken
I
dolls
remember
do.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh my god, I love
they're
that.
great. I think I came up with one that's actually like a part-time assassin called Shard,
Love that.
that has like these fractures all through their face and like
Yeah.
little tiny chips missing in it, but it's still just black void behind it. It's so much fun. Um,
Fantastic. There's
but
like every every major like NPC we've interacted with, I've been like, that's a very cool character. Like they're all very fun and unique, and like we our game takes place in Carney Town. So like there's a lot of that like crime and drugs and clubs and like
mhm,
all this stuff. Like it feels very much like Gotham in Oz is like
yeah,
is like the vibe. Um
yeah,
and it's but like it also isn't like overwhelmingly so. Like every once in a while we're reminded how like dark and intense of a place we're in, but like it also gives us space to be a little nonsense people. Like we're just kind of like running around and doing stuff and having fun and being a little bit goofy and silly, but we're also every character I feel like has done a very good job of also kind of being grounded and like having that like dark side to them. Like it's almost like the silly goofiness is that like facade that they put on the front to
right.
like protect themselves. um but yeah, there
Yeah,
it's been fun because when you make a world like that that is like very gritty and dark, uh, it's it encourages the players to also create characters that can exist in that space, which is
mhm.
so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing is that like every group, the way that character building and everything works is that you actually, as a group of players, choose
I love
a
that.
group
Yeah.
motivation, which right now we've got freedom and power, and then we're going to have wealth and potentially one more as a stretch goal.
Hmm.
And so, freedom could mean like, yes, we're fighting against the oppression of like the nobility and everything, because they're all corrupt and just
Right.
kind of keep their foot on everybody else. Or it could just mean like, hey, I want to be independent. I don't
Hmm.
want to have to go to one of the crime families, or work for the wizard kind of thing. I want to be financially and contractually open, which is a little bit of the option for players to be like, okay, I don't want to sort of be locked into a thing.
Hmm.
I want to play a little bit more open endedly. And then power is I want to climb the ladder, but not of wealth and position, but of like I want to run a criminal family.
Yeah.
And so by choosing that, you get group abilities. So like part of freedom is like you're better at swaying groups of like common unaffiliated citizens,
Hmm.
and part of power is as you level up your group, you can use like 2 group levels to get a hireling, which is like a NPC that you can sort of boss around and make go do stuff. But part of power is you can do that more easily, and so only 1 level you can get an underling.
Nice.
And
And
so
is that concept something that was I've never played Blades in the Dark. Is that something that's from Blades in the Dark? Is that specific to this system?
no, that's specific. So in Blades of the Dark, there is I think it's not called gang, but like you have your
I think
group.
there is something, yeah.
Yeah, you have your group affiliation and you have different abilities and enhancements. It's a
Hmm.
lot more complex in
Yeah.
Blades in the Dark because you've got territories and you've
Yeah.
got hunting grounds and you've got all of these like layer enhancements
Hmm.
that have like 2 different elements to them. You have your group abilities. And one of the things that I wanted to do with that, which is fun if you're into having like a game within a game that's
Yeah.
sort of like this like resource management thing and like social management within the RPG game. That can be fun, but we wanted to simplify it so it's a little bit more accessible. And so this one is just a little bit more straightforward. And doesn't sort of have that extra layer of like, okay, we're done playing the game. Now we got to figure out all of these things that we're going to do. Where you also have heat in Blades in the Dark, which is like how much attention you're getting,
Wanted level,
but
yeah.
it's almost strictly a bad thing. In The True History of Oz, we've kind of combined group leveling with heat into what's called notoriety. And so you can get notoriety to level up your group, but it also kind of pushes you into the next echelon of like dealing with bigger, enemies and allies. And there will be a mechanic in the full version of the game of how to like work that in and
Yeah.
how to use that to sort of gauge like, okay, can these people even work with this other group, or are they going to be seen as like cockroaches to them? And so it's like, okay, do we want to take notoriety, or do we want to make this like a
It's
really stealthy mission
yeah.
and
Right.
Like
take
more money,
no
more
credit for any
problems.
of
Like
this?
they get more
E-
notoriety. They can get stuff, but
exactly.
Yeah.
they also get more stuff they have to deal with.
Well,
Yeah, it's a
And yeah, it's
trade-off.
cool.
and we
Yeah.
touched on like one of the abilities my character has is mesmerism, which like part of that is you make them forget having interacted with you, which helps you
Hmm.
avoid like people remembering you, which means you don't get that like notoriety attached to you from it. But it also like in some cases you don't want to use it because you want that notoriety to like stick around. So you can kind of
Hmm.
like gamify it a little bit to like, okay, well, do I want to? Is it worth taking on the credit here?
Right, right. And there's group abilities that let you swap coin, because coin is and this is the same with blades. In The True History of Oz, you don't get like I get 10 gold, and that's not much money. It's more so in like you have currency points.
Right.
And so like one coin is they say is like a week's worth of wages, like standard wages kind of thing. So like spending money, if it's like, oh, I need to bribe this guy, that's going to be something that you just kind of have, and maybe you'll roll for it to see how effective it is, but that doesn't come out of your actual like written on your character sheet coin. And there's group abilities that if you like are getting paid to do a job, you can trade coin for notoriety, or vice versa. Like if you get notoriety for something, and I think this is in the freedom group, you can actually, basically telling people that witnessed the event, like, hey, you didn't see us here, and trade your notoriety in for like coin that they're like appreciative of you doing something for the community, but they're going to keep quiet about it. And so that way you have options to manage that if you want
Hmm.
to, like, for power, if you want to shoot up in notoriety, because that's kind of your goal, you can actually forego taking money to just become more known and really
Right.
get a bunch of those abilities.
Like
Um,
people are gonna see you, and then you're like, oh no, no need to pay me. Like I'm just here to help, and so then like that notoriety grows more. Like
exactly.
yeah,
Can you have your cake and eat it too, and like take the money and say, let people know I'm taking the money, and then because then it'll be like I have money
get
and power.
more of an
My
infamy
money, my
type
power
thing.
is my money.
Well,
The
now, Junie, roll a sway check. This is
yeah,
gonna be, I would say,
risky limited.
risky limited. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and that's another element that, is part of the Forged in the Dark SRD, is that anytime you make a roll, one, there's only these skill rolls.
Hmm.
That's like vast majority, 95% of what you do is just the skill rolls that you have on your character sheet. There's not a lot of math and
Hmm.
added bits and bobs. But also, anytime you roll, there is an effect and a position set. The effect is like, how effective is this going to be to reach your goal?
Right.
Like, are you trying to kick down a reinforced metal door? Okay, that's a limited effect. And then there's a position, and it's like, okay, is behind the door filled with
Mm.
hostile people that are going to hear this the second you do it? Or is it like an empty warehouse and nobody's around for miles? And so it's very like controlled.
And if you
And
make a check from a desperate position,
mhm,
you get experience in that thing. So like even if you fail at that check, you still are like progressing that experience
mhm,
to like improve those skills.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah.
And then that actually leads to character advancement, which is based on how you play the character. So you get experience points, and it's just one or two in each of these categories, and you need,
Mhm.
I think, nine altogether. I'd have to check the character sheets.
Hmm.
Um, but after every kind of like narrative arc, you'll go through like how people played their character, and like if you used your character's like abilities, we're calling it a calling, like their calling is like how they operate in the world. So the muscle is tough and fights a lot. And so if they used like brute strength and melee combat to deal with problems, then they'll get 1 to 2 experience points for that. But then there's engaging in your background and your backstory. So, like, if you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna go talk to this old contact of mine," and you kind of use that in the game, you get 1 to 2 experience points for. And then there's also, if you engaged in themes of your group motivation. So, like power, if you were like made a big show of things and you're like, "Yeah, we're here," kind of thing, you would get 1 to 2 experience points for that too. So like if you really engage your character, you could
Mhm.
get 6 experience points and be
Hmm.
most of the way to another level.
Yeah.
But if you just play a little bit, you're still going to get some experience for just engaging
Yeah.
at
So
all.
everybody's kind of like leveling up separately.
Hmm.
But like it's not like in D&D where like if you got a level and everybody else didn't, you're like a vastly different like power
Right.
category. Like I think I'm a level higher than everybody else just because like my character is the like I do all the talking. I'm going to try and like talk our way into places. I'm going to try and like negotiate while we're there. And so pretty much every session I'm getting experience for having been able to do that. Whereas like a muscle character is not necessarily getting an opportunity to like confront things with like muscle every session.
Yeah.
Um
But then
but
we'll have like a narrative arc where there is a lot of combat and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
And that, like, the muscle will shine and get like a ton of experience points
Yeah.
from that. And so like it, and then when you level up, you can pick a new special ability. So
Hmm.
like the mesmerism, I think you had done enough desperate skill checks,
I've made a lot of desperate skill checks.
and you were able to put a point into your magic skill
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. Yeah.
take Inception, which
Yeah.
is a
I can put thoughts into people's heads
yeah,
with magic, but in order to do
yeah.
that, I needed to have a point in magic, and so I had looked at that one the last couple of times when like I've leveled up, to decide what I wanted to put something into, and I was like, that's such a cool one. But I finally had the ability to put a point into magic, and I was very excited to take that one.
Well,
It's
and I
cool. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say,
oh no,
magic's come up. Like, are there witches?
yeah.
Have we like
So
brought up are
there
there
is
wicked witches, good witches, East
there
Coast
is
witches?
the
Like
witch.
the witch.
And she is housed somewhere out in the desert, and she will actually occasionally do flybys in the city where she'll bring in the the flying monkeys that just sort of raid part of the city and then fly back off into the desert. It is very much a like constant, like people kind of check the skies if they hear a weird noise type thing. And the wizard and the witch are always kind of at odds with each other because they're both very magically powerful. And that's actually something that I was going to mention was in this world, magic is kind of infused everywhere,
Mhm.
but it is different for every person. And there's some people who have like no spark of magic, and that's most people. But even people who do have that magic potential in themselves, it manifests differently for everyone. So you could have people who are sketching like these ritualistic spells that need like components and like Doctor Strange hand motions and things like that, that like they figured out they can do some of this kind of magic that works on this like deeper level of how the universe is created. But then there's other people that their magic manifests in that they can speak to animals and communicate with nature and things like that. um, but it's not like there's any hard and fast rules for how people use magic in this world. And
Okay.
so for character creation, we do have an Arcanist class that is somebody who has spent their whole life focusing on their magic potential, like kind
Mhm.
of pushing it and learning how to use it. And it has special abilities that let you do certain sort of mechanical effects in the game, but the way you want to narratively manifest that as a character is completely up to you. And so you could be sort of this like, I studied magic in the Emerald City and have a book of my spells and things like that, kind of like a D&D wizard. Or you could be like, hey, I kind of figured out that if I snap my fingers, I can make like a gout of flame come out. And
Mhm.
I've been trying to figure out how to do more with that, and now I can, rub my hands and, shoot a bolt of, electricity out kind of thing, and make it a little bit more rough and tumble. That's kind of how our other player, who is an arcanist and barely ever uses her magic,
Yeah.
mostly because she's kind of afraid to use it. Um,
Well, and it seems like some of us built characters that are kind of like counterintuitive to some of the choices we made.
yeah,
Christian built a character that is the like kind of skulker rangery rogue type thing, but like did not put a lot of points into anything that would allow him to be like good at fighting or anything like that.
I
Uh
was a little concerned about
yeah, yeah.
that.
And then you have
But
like
he's pulled it off pretty well.
yeah, I think that's something that I really appreciate about the system is that every character um feels like it is special and unique and has something like cool that they can do even if it's not necessarily built optimally. And
Right.
there's a lot of flexibility in the game and how like the rolling works and stuff like that. So you get a lot of these situations where like, oh, I want to do this thing. I Can it be this? Like I
Right.
don't really have a lot in this other thing, but like this is what I'm thinking. And like being able to
Yeah.
kind of like pitch what you want to do to the GM is a very cool relationship to have in a TTRPG.
Right, right. Any kind of rolling starts with the goal, like
Right.
what the player wants to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um and is less about the I'm going to use this skill to do a thing, and more like here is the scenario I want to play out in like this 3-second sort of blurb.
Yeah.
And it the player really is more like, hey, I'm going to use this skill to do this thing. And then it's on the GM to decide like, okay, using that skill to do it is a little, that may not be as effective as using a different skill, but you're good at the skill you're using to
Mm-hmm.
do that thing, to accomplish that goal the way that you're wanting to do. And so yeah, it'll be a limited effect. But for you, it's only like risky or controlled
Mm-hmm.
because you're good at doing that. So there's not a lot of repercussion, but it may not fully do the thing you want to do.
Right.
And so it is really much more open narratively,
Yeah.
and not kind of constrained by the mechanics. It's a lot of fun.
I
I'm
love it.
excited for it. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to be a tin daddy. Um,
uh
th-
Elliot, this is awesome. I've really enjoyed like playing in this space with you, and uh getting to see it. And like you've been working on this for a while, so like it's been
Yeah.
cool to like see it kind of grow and change over that time. I remember when it was just like, hey, this is a thing I might be doing, which is
tossing
kind of
around, yeah.
cool. And to be able to play in that space and see it like grow and change and stuff is very, very cool. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
said
So
it's coming to Kickstarter, or is it get I know
so
the link you
it's
dropped is backer kit. Is that is it gonna
yeah,
be on
so
backer kit or
uh
Kickstarter?
yeah, it'll be on Kickstarter.
Okay.
We're working with BackerKit to do all of our like coordination and
Got it.
everything,
Got it.
like that. And right now we're just, we should be launching the Kickstarter in early November. So
Awesome.
right now we're just trying to get as many people signed up just to get kind of those alerts,
Mm-hmm.
because that does have a big impact on when we launch like marketing and
Yeah.
advertising to show that to a lot of people out there. Having a lot of people signed up early makes a huge difference on that. So keep that
Mm-hmm.
in mind anytime you see those projects that are like upcoming, that
Hmm.
it's a big deal to go like, oh yeah, sure, I want to be
Show
notified
interest.
about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It makes a huge deal. So yeah, go in, sign up for alerts. Promise we won't spam you with like a million of them. We're not sending stuff out every day. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like every other week or so. And also you'll get the test materials when you sign up
That's cool.
for those alerts, which is we put a lot into the test materials
Mm-hmm.
alone. So like it's almost, I don't want to say it's almost the full game, but it is at least most of the game. It's like 60-70% of the game,
Yeah.
with new like character options
Mm-hmm.
and some features to come in the final product, plus a crap ton of art
Yeah.
in the final book. It's going to be great.
Well, thank you. Thanks for making the time to come and
Yeah,
hang out
thanks for
this
having
morning.
me on. This
Yeah,
is
of
this is
course.
awesome.
If you want to come back in November and talk about it when it's like ready to go live or when it's launched, like
Yeah.
hit me up. You know where I'm at.
Or
I
any
Awesome.
see.
other
I
time to
see
talk
you.
about like your sexiest like MP3 file that you found on your computer. We're
Um,
always here for it.
yeah, there's if whatever you want to come on and talk about, you're welcome to.
You just
Um,
want to show up.
you
Today we're
know
going to be
where I'm
talking
at.
about
I
MP4s.
see you so often for various games. Um
We
Elliot
are
and
in
I Elliot and I
so many
played
games.
3 games last week. Um, one that he ran and two that I ran for two different groups that he plays in with me. So yeah, would love to have you back to talk about it when it's like
Yeah, I'd love to come.
ready to go.
I always enjoy raising your blood pressure on this show, Hunter.
You do.
Me too.
You interact with me enough that you know exactly the buttons to push to shut my brain down, which I don't fully appreciate.
I mean, my goal is to make Hunter have to spend thousands of dollars on a new computer setup to make him laugh just as he's taking a drink of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
it
I
happens.
am the villain in Hunter's life.
And yet I keep inviting you back to new things. What am I thinking?
Well, it's because you're a masochist.
Yeah. I believe the word
You
you're
love
looking for
it.
is tin daddy.
Kid Daddy.
Daddy.
Elliot,
Timp.
you've been on the show. You've watched
Damn
the
it!
show.
I was trying to figure out how to combine them. It's perfect.
It's a Tin Gimp.
Yeah.
You've been on the show. You watch the show. You know, at the end of every episode, we do our calls to action. Can you give us 3?
How many
calls to
other
action?
daddies are in your world? There's 10 daddies, but what are the other daddies?
Well, there's
You give us
copper
3
daddies.
calls to
There's
action for
aluminum
this week.
daddies.
3 daddies, please.
Yes. Find your 3 daddies. Go to a bar, make eye contact with a group of guys, and just kind of
In a safe
Are
way.
you downloading
please.
this MP3?
In a safe way, please.
Yes, in a safe way with consent. Don't go to a second location. Just right there in the bar.
Oh man, I just thought of a really good MP3 pickup line.
I wish I could control the stream because it'd be so funny if he's like, "Oh, I just thought
Take
of a
us
really
out,
good," and then
Hunter.
I hit
And we
end.
just end. Yeah, I'll
Lead
end,
us out with this.
No, I'll end the episode with it. That's your first call to action. What's your next?
Yeah. Go to Backer Kit. The link is in the chat. It's in the Warlocks and Waffles main Discord server. Go sign up for alerts. Go check out thewizardofoz.org. Yes, we actually got thewizardofoz.org
Nice.
as the IP's landing page.
Amazing.
Nice.
It's very cool. And go check it out. And back to Kickstarter in November.
Works for me. Yeah. Thanks so much. For our listeners, we will be Junie and I talked about potentially having Junie just stream, but then we never got around to setting that up. So I am on vacation for a couple of weeks. Very exciting. So I will not be back until
It's me and Elliot running the show, and it'd be just nonsense. It'd be unbridled nonsense.
Tin Daddies. That's what we'll call it. Warlocks and
Magic
Waffles.
Daddies, Tin Daddies.
Tin Daddies.
Oh, if you take the bead, pour some people, Scary Daddies.
If
Just
we had
scary daddy.
set it up and you were going to be running it, there's I absolutely would have had to figure out how to find internet to be able to watch, because my anxiety would be so high.
We're gonna rank our
if you
top
do
daddies.
some freeform
top
vocal
daddies.
jazz, it's Scatty Daddies.
So we will not be streaming on Friday. And then next week we also will not be streaming either Monday or Friday. Probably won't be streaming on the 14th. We'll see. There's a possibility that I will be in a weird headspace because I've just flown across the ocean, and so I will be awake anyway, and we'll just be like, let's do it.
I will have just flown a red eye from LA. I will
Yeah.
be leaving LA Sunday night and getting here Monday morning. So I would be literally just coming into the door like, I'm here, Daddy. Just like me showing up.
So it might be very funny for both of us to have been flying and exhausted and then get on stream. We'll see. Stay tuned. We may stream then. But otherwise we will be back after that for a little bit. Have a great week, everybody. Remember to embrace the nonsense. I'll end us with the pickup line. Hey, girl, are you an MP3? Because I'm just trying to listen to you. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you around. Bye, guys.